My new crochet project this year to give back to my community is to be able to turn these plastic bags, or any plastic bags, and turn it into plastic yarn, otherwise called plarn. At the second half of the video, I am showing you a full tutorial on how to make your own plastic yarn, being able to cut it into the correct pieces and put it together, and winding it up. It's super easy. All you need is plastic bags and something to cut with, such as scissors or a rotary cutter. I am turning these plastic bags into yarn so I can crochet sleeping mats for those displaced due to financial reasons, the climate crisis, people experiencing homelessness, and you can even donate to detention centers as well. Being able to create a sleeping mat, as you can see, I've started my project here. Being able to create a layer between someone and the earth that they sleep on can go a long way. We all know sleep is vital to our health, and this is something that you can do to give back. So being able to upcycle those is a great way to turn plastic bags into something more meaningful, while still being able to crochet as well, because I know we all love doing it. I'm starting my own initiative, so if you want to be involved, you can do it in a couple different ways. The first way is if you have plastic bags lying around, you can send them to the P.O. box down below where I can pick them up and get started on making these sleeping mats for those who are not as fortunate to have a comfy bed to sleep in every night. The second way you can help is still sending me plastic bags, but you can follow the tutorial at the second half of my video and create the plarn yourself and then send it my way. This makes it much easier for me. It'll make you feel more involved in the process. It'll streamline the entire thing for me, so thank you in advance. The third thing you can do is also make your own sleeping mats for your community as well. For those who are experiencing homelessness, or if you're near a detention center, or if another creative day idea comes to mind. You can find the tutorial at the second half of the video to get started on your own. And you don't have to limit this to just sleeping mats. Plastic yarn can go a long way for other things as well, such as reusable grocery bags, sleeping mats like I've already said, maybe a hammock for your fruit. You could even probably make a cool scarf to raise awareness. Whatever you decide to do, please let me know down in the comments or tag me on socials. You can find all my social media down below. Thank you so much for being involved and giving back to your community. I really appreciate you, and I know those folks who receive your items also will too. Thank you. To get started, you'll need a plastic bag. There are a bunch of different kind of plastic bags out there, so the thickness and weight to your plastic bag might be a little bit different, so you'll have to experiment a little bit with what you have. But the first thing you're going to need are your materials. So you have your bag. You'll need either a pair of scissors, or you can even use a rotary cutter if you have a good backdrop to use it on. Makes it a little bit quicker. So from here, we have two steps that we want to do that you'll always need to do with your plastic bags. So on the very bottom, you'll want to cut this off. So like I said, you can use scissors or you can use a rotary cutter. But since scissors will be more accessible for everybody, we're going to do the example with a pair of scissors rather than the rotary cutter. So we're going to cut the bottom. And then up top, we are going to be cutting our handles. You can cut them both separately, or you can just cut straight across just to give it a little bit more of a straight edge. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so that goes away. So now we have our plastic bag. It's hollow, you can see inside. So from here, there's two ways we can go about creating our plarn pieces. And we're going to be creating little tubes. So the first way is you can just continue now to just cut straight across like so. Depending on the size of your bag, you'll want to leave it anywhere from ½ an inch to an inch. But since this bag is already really thick, I'm going to keep it at about ½ an inch. So mine are going to be really thin. So I'm going to take the bottom here, and then I am going to cut straight across. And I am just kind of eyeballing it and cutting it. You can use something to measure to make sure you're only getting about ½ an inch. Okay, so then I now have my first tube. So you'll be creating these. And the reason you don't want it too thick is because you still do have to crochet. And it can be just really hard with like the certain kind of hook sizes you have. And then we will just continue the same process all the way down. So you can just keep cutting. And as you can see, this process, this is one way to do it. However, if you want this to be a much faster process, you can take your bag and you can roll it up. So I'm rolling mine in thirds. So I've done a tri-fold of my bag, like so. Have it lined up. And once you have this, you can start cutting straight down, just like you've been doing. And you can do small snippets like so. So there's a tube right there. I can put that to the side. The only thing I find difficult about doing this is you kind of find yourself doing it quickly and it can start to kind of curve, and then the tubes that you have are a bit more difficult to crochet because they're kind of jaggedy. But you can still do this as long as you're keeping it straight and being really mindful on keeping it thin. So we're going to do some examples. Okay, so you would just continue going all the way down the bag to repurpose this bag and turn it into plarn. So let's go over how to turn all these tubes into something you can actually crochet with. So we'll take two for example. We'll put these to the side as we keep creating these. You're going to take these two, so let's visualize this. So here are our two strands that you can see here that my hands are on top of. You're going to take one strand and you're going to push it into the other loop. So now I have two sides. And with my left side or my right side, I'm going to take one side and put it through the other strand of the current loop. So I'm going to pull it through. And then I'm going to pull until it's a tight knot. But you don't want to pull too tightly because you don't want to rip your plastic. Okay, so now I have a long piece. So then I would just take the other end. I would take another piece of the plastic from what I've cut. And once again, I'm going to push it through the big loop. I'm going to grab both ends. And then I am going to push it back through the same loop that I'm working with. And then I'm going to pull until it becomes a knot on the end. And as you see, I now have a much longer piece of plarn. So you do have to go through this first initial part of it all just to get the plarn made. But it really doesn't take too long. And if you can find a friend or a peer or a family member to help you, it'll go much quicker. So I've attached 3, and we've actually made quite a bit of length. And once you've gotten a number of these attached, you can create your own little yarn balls. You can just take your fingers and then you can begin to wrap. And just create your own skein of plarn, like so. Obviously, if you had more, you can make a bigger ball, but this way you have something you can pull out of. So now, let's show you an example of how you can crochet with this. So with my plarn, you're going to choose a hook that fits right. Right now I'm using a 10mm hook, which kind of feels like I could go up a size or two, but it really depends on the thickness of your yarn and how big your strands are. Mine used to be really thick when I first started making this, but I've kind of been able to eyeball it to a size that works for me. So just like normal crochet, as you would, you're going to start off with a slip knot. So taking your one end, putting your index finger, middle finger out, I'm going to wrap to create an X. You'll push it through that little center. You're going to grab it, pull your 2 fingers out, and then you can pull the 2 ends and create a slip knot like so. And it's going to feel like you're double stranding it. So that's what makes it even more thick. So that's why you really want to keep it pretty thin. I'm going to pull, and then I'm just going to crochet like normal. So holding my crochet, and then I'm going to chain. So for example, if I'm working on a sleeping mat, which I will have an independent video on how to make sleeping mats and a pattern for that, you'll just crochet for your desired length, and you'll just keep going. It is a little bit of a learning curve when it comes to working inside of these stitches. Also, just visually being able to identify your stitches can be a little bit of a learning process, but you'll definitely get the hang of it the more you do. So you would just do that for a chain. And so if I wanted to single crochet, I'd find my stitch. I would insert just like we normally would, and I would yarn over and pull through the loop. I have 2 loops left. I would yarn over and single crochet. So this is just an example of kind of what it looks like to do it. It's a little awkward and a bit weird at first, but you definitely get the gist. And there's an example. So it'll start to come to be, and here's an example of what it'll look like the more you work on it. So it'll start to create a definite shape, and it definitely feels really thick. So being able to sleep on something like this or use it for a different purpose, such as like a purse or a bag, is a really great way to recycle and reuse your plastic bags. I'm really excited to be able to use my craft to give back to the community. Thank you so much for your support. As always, make sure to subscribe and like, and I will see you for the next video. Take care now.